My name is Mel Brown and I'm the Community Engagement Librarian, and I would like to welcome you to tonight's event. I would like to acknowledge that wherever we are, we live, work and play on Aboriginal land. My life is lived in Naarm on the lands of the peoples of the Kulin Nation, and I pay my respect to elders past, present and emerging, and extend that to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples that may be online tonight. Aboriginal sovereignty of this land was never ceded, and the impact of colonisation is ongoing. I spend my work days when I'm in the library looking out onto the bay on the lands of the Bunurong, and I follow the bends of the Correct Creek to my home on Wurundjeri country. As I walk this land today, I do so knowing that this country has been walked and cared for at least 65,000 years before me, and I open myself to hear the stories, those full of joy, wisdom and wonder, but also those of sorrow, heartbreak and loss. I embrace the culture and wisdom of my home, and I walk alongside my Indigenous brothers and sisters to a fairer Australia. So welcome again to tonight's event. We are very lucky to be able to jump back online when things change. We're getting very good at adapting as we go through 2020 and 2021. So please, again, welcome to this event being brought to you tonight by Hobsons Bay Libraries and the Enviro Centre. So very quick update. Libraries are closed at the moment, but we are offering a click and collect service. So you can reserve your items, select which library you'd like to pick them up from, and come to the front doors between 10 and 4 during the week, and 10 and 4 on a Saturday, and 1:30 and 5 on a Sunday, and somebody will be there to open the door and bring you your books. So it's a service that we're able to continue going even when our libraries can't be open. Now, we're being joined tonight by Donna Cameron. Now, Donna is a personal stylist and colour specialist and advocate for ethical fashion. She encourages mindful purchasing through the understanding and application of personal style principles to address excessive fashion consumption, and began co-hosting ethical fashion tours in 2017. Donna was invited to speak on colour by the National Gallery of Victoria in 2019 and launched her book, got it right here, Colour, The Secret to Creating a Sustainable Wardrobe, for NGV Melbourne Design Week in 2021. Now, during 2015 and 17, Donna was president of the Melbourne chapter of the Association of Image Consultants International. So can you please join me in welcoming Donna Cameron?
Thank you very much, Mel. Do you need to put the PowerPoint on? Can you do that? Or what can people see? Ah, there we go. Now we've got faces. Okay, good. Can you all see me? Great, thank you. Thank you, Mel, for that great introduction, and particularly to that the welcome to country. That was one of the more beautiful ones that I've heard. So thank you. That was really lovely. I might need to request control again for this. I've just requested control. Apologies, everybody. Well, firstly, thank you for coming along. I know it's not always easy or ideal doing things online. I did hope to meet you all in person and to show you real life examples of how colour can have different effects. But I'll do what I can on online. I've put together a whole lot of different images to show you and a lot of information. So I hope it all makes sense and I hope you enjoy it. Okay, it looks like I've got control, so let's roll. Once again, thank you so much for coming. I am trying to get onto the next, there we go. All right, I won't go through everything. Mel's already given a lovely introduction to me, but yes, I am a personal style and colour consultant. I mostly see people one-on-one, but I run occasional workshops. Back in 2000, so over 20 years ago, I actually won a United Nations World Environment Day award for a documentary that I made. I co-produced it. My director and co-producer was the amazing John Hughes, and our documentary was called River of Dreams, and it was about a proposal to flood a whole lot of land which the Indigenous people were using up in the northwest of Australia, and grow genetically engineered cotton. I'm very thankful to say it didn't happen, but it took a big fight to ensure that that didn't go ahead. So, yep, sustainability and environment is stuff that I've been thinking about for, well, probably forever. I had a very environmental sort of upbringing. There was no waste, which was not just about saving money, it was all about the environment as well. So I guess that's really stayed with me. So it had, once I got into working with people around the way they present themselves and colour and clothing in particular, I carried that story with me. To this day, I hate waste. So when I advise people on presenting themselves, when I take people shopping, I'm all about trying to steer them towards ethical and sustainable choices. So that's enough about me. Is my mouse working? Okay, so yeah, when Mel and I first talked about this back in April, about this session, she asked me to speak on these 3 things, which are actually the themes of my book: why it's time to confront our addiction to excessive fashion consumption, how to identify fashion pieces you'll love to wear, and how to use a design principle, in this instance, colour, to make your wardrobe more sustainable. So part 1 is going to be about what exactly is sustainability, what has the environment got to do with fashion, fashion consumption, simplifying things, and what'll work, getting you to think a little bit about your own wardrobe, so what'll work for your own wardrobe. We'll have a short break, and then when we come back, we'll talk about colour in quite a lot more detail. Okay, so kicking off, why it's time to confront our addiction to excessive fashion consumption. So we'll start at the beginning. What exactly does sustainable mean? What is sustainable development? I've chosen to use the United Nations definition, and they define sustainable development as development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. So just keep that sort of definition with you as we go throughout the presentation. Development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. So as some of you may have realised, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, or the IPCC, this week released a really frightening report. Their findings were that humans have caused unprecedented and irreversible change to climate, scientists warn. Climate crisis unequivocally, you know the word, caused by human activities. Now I was thinking about how to put this into the presentation tonight, how to make it quite sort of accessible. And then I came across this great series of screenshots on Instagram that Conversation Australia and New Zealand have put up. For those who don't know, Conversation Australia is a unique collaboration between academics and journalists. And in just 10 years, it's become the world's leading publisher of research-based news and analysis. So I definitely recommend that you check them out if you haven't already. So as you can see, this is the most sobering report card yet on climate change and Earth's future. And here's what you need to know. We need to reach net zero. Global warming stays below 2 degrees Celsius during this century only under scenarios where CO2 emissions reach net zero around or after 2050. So you will have noticed that there's a lot of talk about 2050 amongst our leaders, political leaders at the moment, and that's why the 2050 is so crucial, because of this goal, which was agreed to. Oop, I don't know what happened there. There we go. The report states with high certainty that to stabilise the climate, CO2 emissions must reach net zero and other greenhouse gas emissions must also decline. CO2 is the big one and it also hangs around in the environment for longer than others. Bear with me, right, there we are. Marine life is at risk. Even if the world does restrict warming to 1.5 to 2 C, it is consistent with the Paris Agreement. Marine heat waves will become 4 times more frequent by the end of the century. Now, you might think the end of the century is a long way off. It's just under 80 years, and there are children alive today, millions of children alive today, that will actually be alive by the end of the century. So if you think about those children that you know, this, it brings it home. It might sound like it's a long way off in the future. It's not. Little children we know will be copying this, sadly. Marine heat waves cause the mass death of marine life, such as from coral bleaching events, which I'm sure you're aware of, with the Great Barrier Reef. A lot of controversy about that as well. The last 50 years have been bad. Global surface temperature has warmed faster since 1970 than in any other 50-year period over at least 2,000 years. Warming also reaching ocean depths. It affects us all. So once upon a time, us here in the wealthy countries thought that we could probably escape this. We'd be able to find a way around it. And it'd just be those more vulnerable island communities that might suffer. We know that the sea levels are rising and that the islands are, vanishing before our eyes almost. But no, we can't think that we're protected anymore. There is not one place on the earth that is not being impacted by this now. Projected temperature rise in Australia. You can see at the left-hand side of that graph, that's around 1960, and then at the very end there is 2100. So if you look in the centre, 2020, you can see things are beginning to heat up. Yes, it's projected, but there are a lot of really sophisticated tools now that make this more certain than we've ever been before. So we really must do something. And as I said earlier, it is humanity's fault. The report found that 1.07 degrees Celsius of the 1.09 is due to greenhouse gas emissions associated with human activities. So what can we do? The amount the Earth has warmed since pre-industrial time, so that's before the Industrial Revolution, is quite a lot. So we haven't got that much more to go to reach 1.5 or 2. So what's this all got to do with fashion? What's the environment got to do with fashion? Well, changing the way you consume fashion contributes to reaching net zero greenhouse gas emissions. I'm ashamed to say that the fashion industry produces more CO2 emissions than both the aviation and the maritime industries combined. It's extraordinary. Now we can reduce this. Most of us have far more than we need. I'm not saying don't buy. I love clothes very much, but I am saying buy more strategically. So I'm presenting to you tonight a way of doing that. There are several frameworks that you might implement in order to do that. But the one I'm presenting tonight is fun and effective and quite easy to implement, I think. Can you believe that 100 to 150 billion items of clothing is produced every year? And if our current consumption trends continue, we can expect more than 80% growth in less than 10 years. So by 2031, we will have almost doubled the rate that we're consuming right now. So we clearly need to do something. This work by Alfia Galimova, this is an image that she produced for my book. It illustrates a textile mill. Not sure if you can read that there, but it does say textile mill here. Allowing toxic dyes to spill into the stream nearby. It's killing the fish, it's killing the mammals, it's uninhabitable for human consumption or even for swimming in. And it's also spewing pollution into the air. And unfortunately, this is a realistic vision. This is happening around the world. I'm pleased to say it doesn't happen too much here in Melbourne anymore, but it is certainly happening in many, many, many places in the world. Those people who produce our clothing, they are working with these dangerous chemicals day after day, and a lot of the regulators are just turning a blind eye to these chemicals going into the environment, ruining, as I said, the habitat for animals, but also putting at jeopardy the health of the workers nearby and even residents who happen to live near a factory, who may not even work in the industry. So because I'm talking about colour, I thought, well, I'll just sort of zero in on dye as one of the toxins that's going into the environment. And I'll talk about jeans in particular, well, denim. Jeans is one of the most popular items produced in the world. Some 2 billion pairs of jeans are sold worldwide each year. So that's apparently 60 pairs per second. 60 pairs of jeans sold per second, which makes it one of the most worn pieces of clothing in the world. So there are two ways that we could dye denim. One is natural indigo, plant-derived, and that is making a bit of a comeback, and it's certainly the way that we used to do it when jeans first came about. The second is using synthetic dyes derived from petroleum, benzene, cyanide, formaldehyde, and 6 other chemicals, all toxic or harmful to humans. They are one of the most environmentally harmful items. They take almost 10,000 litres of water to make one single pair of jeans, and they usually travel tens of thousands of kilometres to reach you. The humble jean. This quote, by the way, is by a fantastic writer, Donna Thomas. Her book Fashionopolis. I don't know if any of you have read it, but I totally recommend it.
We have it in our EnviroCentre collection, so I will add the link into the chat.
Lovely, thank you. It's a fantastic book. She's visited a whole lot of different producers and designers around the world, and every chapter is a little bit different. And she, even though it's a sobering sort of book, she does write in such her narrative is just beautiful. They're like little individual stories, so totally recommended. Now there are alternatives. There are some good options to manufacturing jeans. This image here is a sustainable business in Melbourne. It's called Nobody Denim. We have a few others. Denim Smith is another one. And these are organisations who are really trying to do things well. So most of their jeans and other denim pieces are made here in Melbourne. There's a few offshore items being made, but they have good relationships with those factories and they keep a close eye on them. They have put themselves forward, Nobody Denim and Denim Smith, to be audited by Ethical Clothing Australia and other organisations because they want to be as ethical and sustainable as they can be. They're expensive. Nobody Denim is expensive, but I think we've lost sight of how clothes are actually made. We've lost sight of how many hours go into actually designing and putting together a garment, sewing it, doing the quality control and getting it to the shops. There's a lot of work involved. So these things do cost money. And if you want people earning a decent living and you want the toxins from the dyes not to be spewing into somebody's waterway, then you do need to pay for it. But they do have fantastic sales too. So if you sign up to the mailing list of Nobody Denim, You can get some really fantastic bargains, 50% off sometimes. So very worthwhile. I have a few pairs of their jeans and they're excellent. Sorry, this control is not perfect. I'm just going to go back to where there. Okay, it's a little bit funny. So yes, there are some good things happening. There's some great technology being developed, and there are some great businesses trying to do the right thing. But we really need to support these. Disposable clothes that stay in a woman's closet for an average of just 5 weeks before being thrown out, all in the name of the democratization of fashion. Now, that's a quote from Livia Firth, who is a world famous advocate for ethical and sustainable fashion. And what she's talking here about is fast fashion. So yes, clothing has become cheap for the average person in the Western world to buy. So that's the democratization of it. But this has come about at a massive cost to those who make our clothes and to the environment. Now, once upon a time when we were allowed to travel internationally, I went over to London and attended this fantastic exhibition called Fashioned from Nature, the Victoria and Albert, the V&A. And they highlighted a lot of the issues that were, that we need to be mindful of in the fashion industry. But they also spotlighted some of the wonderful technological innovations that are occurring to turn things around. It was really great. I haven't got time to go into that today, the positives, but let me assure you there are some positives. But today we're going to zoom in on consumption and waste. So you can see the contemporary issues here. Human and animal well-being we have touched on. Climate change we've touched on. Modern day slavery, yes, it is still happening, and yes, it is happening here in Australia. It's not something that's disappeared by any stretch. Land use and biodiversity loss, hazardous chemicals and pollution, water stress, diminishing resources, and consumption and waste. So yeah, we'll talk about consumption and waste. We've already touched on hazardous chemicals and pollution. So elements in the fashion life cycle. So if you have a look at the green, what shape is that? Segment of the chart, you can see design. So that's where fashion is sketched, where the concept sketches occur, where a pattern might be drafted, and pattern making in itself is a really highly skilled trade. Not everybody can do that easily. So that takes quite a lot of time in itself. Then the next squared shape down is the make. So that's when you actually put together a prototype. So making that up, tweaking it, perhaps it doesn't sit quite as the way we expected it to on the body. So there's tweaks there. Then it actually has to get made on a larger scale. Then there's the acquisition phase. So if we can these days, I think it's really nice to go to a maker and get something, which they may, a lot of people have, or some people have little boutiques, so they might sew out the back and sell in the front, or you might meet somebody at a market who's done that. So wherever we can purchase directly from the maker, I think that's a really nice thing to do. But more often than not, there are several intermediaries until they reach a retail store. Then there is the care factor, and that's where your responsibility comes in. That's where it's about how much we respect the clothing that we buy. Now, I respect my clothes greatly. I have a lot of clothes. I love clothes. I don't chuck things out. I don't always buy expensive. I often would buy secondhand, always have. I like to sort of mix it up that way. But I would never discard my clothes onto the floor. I would never wash them roughly. I handle them very carefully. And that can really make an impact too to the life of the clothes. The way that we discard things is really important. You may well know that too much textiles ends up in landfill. I used to advocate for taking things to charity shops, op shops. In some instances, that's still a good thing to do, but they now receive so much stuff that they're actually paying to get rid of our rubbish. So if you are tempted to take things to op shops or charity shops, think about whether they really will be able to sell it, and if not, perhaps donate it to maybe an animal shelter where the textiles could, you know, keep an animal warm, because the op shop is not just an easy way to dispose of things anymore. Things have moved. Ah, there's that crazy mouse going off again. Oh, okay, we'll move on to Harper's Bazaar photos. So once upon a time, we used to have two main collections released each year. So on the left, we've got that sort of autumn-winter series, and then on the right, we have the spring-summer. So that's changed now. Places like Zara, and I will mention them because they were one of the pioneers, and they are ruthless at this. They will put out new clothes in their stores every 10 days. And we are attracted to new, to novel, to difference. It feeds our appetite. It's a crazy wheel for us to get on if we're always looking to buy new clothes. So it's not just buying a couple of times a year, it's always buying, always looking. So those seasons as such have become a thing of the past. Slow fashion though, which is being revolutionized, is a return to having things made well and often by hand to ensure longevity. So the Zaras and the other fast fashions where you can get your $25 dresses, that stuff is not made to last. So it's using up good resources, and then it's not seeing us through, if you like. So we need to sort of rethink the way that we buy. The slow food movement has been around for a while. You know, instead of buying fast food and quick fixes, and you know, not even thinking about what we're putting into our bodies, well, we've turned that around quite some time ago. We think about slow cooking. We enjoy the activity of cooking and the social aspect of that, and we're respecting our bodies and our health a bit more. We know a bit more about health. And so now we have to do the same thing with fashion and respect the process. Remember what it takes to make something. For those of you who've ever knitted or embroidered or made anything on a machine, it can take hours and hours and hours. And so we need to be prepared to pay for that. As I said, if you're combining that with secondhand, that's not so bad. The price doesn't always have to be really high. But always think quality rather than quantity. There are 3 simple changes that you can make to help with this situation. Here's a fact. Extending the life of clothes by just 9 months can reduce their carbon, water and waste footprints by 20 to 30%. So care for your beloved fashion pieces. Consider mending. We all used to mend once upon a time. We need to get back to doing that. And not washing quite so often. Sometimes things can do with just an airing out. Some things don't need to be ironed. They can be just taken straight from the machine, damp and hung up. They're things to think about, because that's where the carbon, water and waste footprints are accelerated, even, you know, after the clothes are bought. It's what we do with them and how we care for them. I have mentioned already that the fashion industry produces more CO2 emissions than the aviation and maritime industries combined. And this was a nifty little fact that I first became aware of on the ABC's War on Waste. Australians send 6,000 kilograms of unwanted textiles to landfill every 10 minutes. Extraordinary. So it's time, everybody, to move away from disposable fashion. Treasure what you have. Invest in beautiful clothes that you plan to wear. I apologise. Okay, so if this is all too hard to think about, you're welcome to download my cheat sheet. If you scan the QR code there. You'll find my cheat sheet of brands that are doing it well and others who are taking shortcuts. Now, it's not an exhaustive list by any stretch, and I will be updating it again soon, but you're welcome to download that for free. At least I think if we're aware of some brands that are doing things really well and then other brands that are disastrous, I think that's helpful.
For those of you who I can see writing, we are going to send around an abridged version of these notes tomorrow. So Donna will make sure that link is in that.
Absolutely will. Yep. Okay, so my belief is that the most sustainable clothing is the piece that you love so much that you wear it frequently. So that will move us on to the next session. And a sub-point is that it's never been more important to build the future and support the community you want to see flourish post-COVID. So those little independent micro businesses that I mentioned, we're so fortunate in Melbourne to have a lot of them around the place. So if you're keen to support ethical and sustainable fashion, seek these places out. I can certainly help with that. All right, so as I said, we're moving on to how to identify fashion pieces you'll love to wear. I want you to just take a moment, I'll give you 20 seconds or so, to think what item in your wardrobe you wear more than any other. Could be a coat or some jeans, could be a favourite dress. Just have a think. I hope you've all thought of something. Now, thinking about that item that you wear most, can you recall how much you paid for it? Just jot that down next to the item. So, was it $100? Was it closer to $10? Or was it $500? And how many times have you worn it? I wonder if you wear it so much, maybe you couldn't estimate how many times you've worn it, if it's a really favourite piece. So if your answer is that you have a favourite coat and it cost you $500, which might seem excessive, think about how often you've worn that $500 coat. Now, if you've had that coat 3 years and you're living in Melbourne, it's cold, maybe you've worn that coat most days. Let's say out of 356 days, you've worn that coat 200 days. Well, if you do the maths, the cost per wear for that coat is going to be less than, it's around 80 cents. It's going to be less than $1. So that makes that coat a bargain, in fact. Maybe you've got a pair of fancy shoes that you paid $100 for, but perhaps you've only worn them twice. Maybe you only paid $50 for them. You've only maybe worn them twice. Can you see there that the cost per wear for the fancy shoes, even though they were less expensive, is far higher than that $500 coat? So it's starting to look like the coat was quite a bargain, wasn't it? So you want to minimize the things that you don't wear and invest in things that you wear a lot and that you love wearing. So that's one way of thinking differently about what you pay for things. You know, there are plenty of coats out there, fast fashion coats, that wouldn't cost anything close to $500, but I'll tell you, after 5 wears, they might start falling apart. So consider what you're wanting the garments to do. Whether you just want to turn them over all the time and get new, I don't recommend that, or invest in something that's going to last you a really long time. Now I've got 11 pieces of metal in my leg, so whenever I buy a pair of shoes or boots, I make sure I buy really good ones, and they cost a lot, but I have them for decades. I've got one pair of shoes I've had for 35 years because I just keep getting them soled, rehealed. So think about what you're buying. Now, again, consider that item that you wear more than any other and think about why you wear it. What is it about that item that makes you reach for it every time? Is it the color or the fabric? Is it the way that it fits you? Is it something you would say is just perfectly your style? You just saw that piece and you thought, that is so me, I've got to have it and I love wearing it every day. Or is it something else altogether? Perhaps somebody gave it to you and you like to remember them. So jot it down. What is it about that piece in your wardrobe that you love to wear? Why do you love to wear it? Why do you wear it more than any other piece? And then think, what else do you have in your wardrobe that's like it? If it's a soft red jumper, do you like it because you love the red? Do you like it because of the way it makes you feel when you put it on? It's just so soft. Do you like it because it highlights something in your body or hides something in your body? What is it about it that you love? And what else have you got in your wardrobe that share those attributes? Okay, so I'll just let you think about that. Here are some images of clothes, all different kinds of clothes. You might have a whole range of clothes in your wardrobe, but do you love all of them equally? Or there are some that you definitely reach for more than others? I think the mistake we make if we don't really think about our personal style and our taste and what we like and why we like it is that we just try different things, and that leads to waste. For example, can you imagine somebody who loves that red dress also loving the blue skirt or the pink skirt? They're very different styles, aren't they? So I think it's important to understand what your style is. It doesn't have to be fashionable, but it does have to mean something to you. So what are your go-tos and what is your true style? I don't think enough of us spend enough time considering that. We need to get rid of that scattergun approach where we just think, oh, that'll do, I'll try that. We need to be, as intelligent people, we apply a strategic framework to other things that we do. We need to start applying it to our wardrobes as well. By analysing why you like particular clothes, you'll be able to identify others you like based on the same criteria. Again, oh, sorry, it's a very touchy little thing. Again, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't buy clothes, just become more selective and strategic and buy only what you love. Maybe what you love is bold colours, geometric prints or weaves in tailored shapes. That could be one thing that you love. Maybe you don't like prints or patterns at all. Maybe you like plain things, but you like rich colours and you love the softness of velvet or the shine of velvet. Maybe you like tightly fitted straight skirts. You don't like prints very much. You like bold colours, very fitted. Maybe you like pale colours, light colours, soft and comfortable. Maybe you don't like a lot of attention drawn to you, so you prefer minimal detail. Whatever it is, make note of it and use that as one way to build your wardrobe and become more sustainable with your wardrobe. Mel, I thought this would be a good time to take a short break. That's all right. But before we do, I want to ask people to perform a small task. So, Mel, how long should we take for the break? How long would you like?
How long do you think they'll need to do their task? Maybe 5 minutes?
I think 5 minutes would be fine. Yep. So what I'd like you to do is get up, open your wardrobe. That's the joy of doing this online. We do have access to our wardrobes here. I want you to open your wardrobe and observe two things. One, the colour that delights you as you open the wardrobe door. And secondly, what colour the majority of your clothes are. That may or may not be the same thing, but they're the two things I'd like you to do. And note these for later. We're going to use them because after the break, we're going to get stuck into colour. And we'll be drawing on these. So just get up, energise, move, and go and find out about that colour that delights you and the colour that most of your clothes are.
And 6:58, so we'll come back at 7:05. Give you an extra couple of minutes.
Thank you. I want to see everybody getting up.
I think I can answer those two questions without going to my wardrobe.
All right, what colour delights you?
For me, it's always navies and greens.
What kind of green for you?
Like a dark green, like the bottle green I've got my jumper on. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
And what is most of your wardrobe? What colour?
Navy and green.
Well, that's good. You know what you like and you're buying it. You're following my method perfectly.
Yeah.
Very good. I might stand up too.
Yeah, it's probably not a bad idea.
Yep. And you as well. Sorry about my mouse jumping around. It's very touchy for some reason. Like not my usual mouse, but just combination, I think.
I think sometimes as well, when I have to move my mouse to let somebody in the lobby, the two of them kind of, so I'm trying to not use my mouse as much as possible, but I do think that might be some of the problem. So I'm really sorry about that.
Oh no, that's all right. That's all right. We haven't got too far out of control. Has anybody got any questions while we're waiting?
Gail, feel free to turn your microphone on.
Okay, thanks. I've just written a comment that as you get old, I had my colours done when I was probably in my 30s, but as I've gotten older, as my hair colours changed, my body shape's changed. It's really, and also my lifestyle's changed. I've gone from work clothes, then I didn't know what clothes to wear. And although they say that you can wear anything at any age these days, it's not always flattering. It's not always suitable. So I find it a little difficult to know, what colours totally suit as I get older. I've got a feeling that I probably need to go a little bit bolder than what I am. When I had my colours done back in was it the 70s or 80s when it was Colour Me Beautiful? Was all the rage.
80s. Yeah.
Yes. Then I was all autumn colours. Which my mother had always dressed me in, so I hated those autumn colours. But now so as the years have gone on, I find that I can wear blues more than I could do when I was younger. But yeah, so and it's hard to find stores. Like my friends and I discovered and fell upon Meredith, and particularly the outlet store it had in Richmond, but then that's gone. And like you mentioned Zara, but I can never get anything to fit me in Zara. It's a young person's store.
It is basically, yeah. In terms of our colouring, it changes every 5 to 10 years. So I first got my colours done over 10 years ago now, and I've definitely changed. So we do soften with age. We're aware of our hair softening down and going either greyer or whiter, but also our skin and our eyes soften down as well. But we're not always aware of that. So yes, we definitely do change over time. So I used to have quite dark hair. My hair's not natural, but I've just used a colour shampoo to warm it up a bit, because I am sort of more the autumn tones. But similar to you, I went to school and had to wear autumn toned school uniform and hated it. So I didn't go near them for many, many years. But eventually I just surrendered and thought, well, they do suit me, and actually it's 40 years later or something, so I'm able to wear them again now.
And I find I'm always drawn to like softer colours like I've got on now, but actually when I put like bright reds and bright colours, I think it gives me more life. But and also I find we're governed by what colours are the fashion of a particular time, like olive green. And so what I tend to do is grab the colours like olive green when it's in fashion and hopefully, keep it for quite a while. But, it's with the fashion cycle and being dominated by what colours they want to produce, and it's probably for the younger people, it's not always easy. And I was looking at my wardrobe, and like my two favourite colours are turquoise and red, but what is most of my wardrobe is black, because Melbourne is black, and black's so easy to wear, so most of my wardrobe is black.
Black, wearing too much black can really drag a person down though. I find I used to wear a lot of black too, but it looks dreadful on me now. Because I'm not dark haired like I used to be, and black actually throws a lot of shadows and emphasizes a lot of lines. It's not the most flattering color for most of us, but Melbourne women, they very often wear black. I'm always on a campaign with my clients to wear less black. Mel, I think it's time, isn't it, for us to begin again? Hopefully everyone's back.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get started.
Good. So I hope you've all noted the colours that delighted you. Oh gosh, here's that mouse again. As you opened your wardrobe, and also what the majority of your clothes were. So now we start in on colour, using colour to make your wardrobe more sustainable. So why colour, you might be asking? Well, as I said earlier, applying a strategy to your fashion purchasing means you won't be buying stuff that you don't need. Applying colour to your purchasing framework means that you can do it anywhere, regardless of style, regardless of gender or culture or whatever. It works for anybody. Colour can really bring us joy, and that's why I wanted you to look into your wardrobe and think about what colours actually excite you. Now, this is one of mine, this sort of corally colour. I can't wear pink because I'm a warm tone person, but a pink with a bit of orange in it, I love it. That just kind of makes me feel happy. And it can do wonders for the way that we appear. Some of you will have heard that conversation that two of us were having just before, in terms of what looks good on us and why. We'll be going into a little bit more detail there, but black, the fact that black suits everybody and makes us look slim is a myth. It is a myth. That's for another day. I can't go into black in too much detail, but it can really drag us down to an extent in terms of mood. And I've noticed since people have been in lockdown, I don't just mean here in Melbourne, but around the world, colours are really making a comeback. So a lot of people are shedding their black, which I'm thrilled to see, and wearing colours brighter than they have for a while because they just want that lift. Colour also, it opens up possibilities. It doesn't limit our options. So to think about colour, there are millions of colours that the eyes can see. So I'm going to take you through some colour theory and help you to start seeing colours in a new way. And once you're able to do that, I think you'll agree that the world really is your oyster. And also knowing what colours you're looking for or what colours you're not looking for, that might be a better way of putting it. It really does reduce your decision-making time when you're shopping. I so often will just peer into a shop, and if everything's black, white and grey, I'm just out of there. There's no happy colours in there for me. So 3 elements of colour, a hue, value and chroma. And I will forward these notes. Hue, value and chroma. So I'll outline what they all are. Hue is the easy one. It's really just the colour family. So red, yellow. So, yellows could be lemon, mustard, gold, red, scarlet, cerise, cherry, burgundy, a whole lot of different things. So they're the colour family. That's what hue is. The next one's fairly straightforward as well. It's value or depth. So I'll use those terms interchangeably. So if you see in the middle there's a fairly bright red. It's quite a pure red. And then we go to the left and it's getting lighter and lighter and lighter. We go to the right, it's getting darker and darker and darker. So obviously I could have made that longer until it turns to white at one end and black at the other. So depth. That one I'm sure you can get your head around. The one you may not have met before is saturation or chroma. Now this refers to how much pigment is present. Now in the break, a couple of us were talking about how we soften down a bit as we age. Our hair softens, our skin softens, our eyes soften. And that just means that we're losing a bit of the pigment that's present in us. So again, look at the left-hand side. There's a pure red there. And then that's got a lot of pigment. And then look towards the right, towards the grey. Those tones are they've got less and less pigment as we move towards the right. But, and this is the crucial point, none of them are lighter or deeper than the other. They're all the same depth. It's only that that some have more pigment in them than the others. Now, I'll just show you depth again. Clearly lighter, deeper. That is just about the pigment, the chroma, the saturation level. Again, those terms are used interchangeably. Okay, so some of you will have met the colour wheel. So if you look at the sort of top left-hand corner there, you'll see the yellows, the oranges, the reds. That's what we call the warm side of the wheel. Those colours remind us of the fire. And then the right-hand bottom sort of corner, they're what we call the cool tones. So the greens and blues and violets. And they're the tones that creep in a bit more when the sun is low in the sky and things are becoming a little more shadowy. Those colours dominate. So that's where the warm and the cool have come from. They've come from nature, just observing nature. Okay, so a true colour is anything that we see in the rainbow or a prism. So red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. There's an acronym, Roy G. Biv, which is supposed to be similar to a boy's name, Roy G. Biv, to help you remember. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. So they are the pure hues. And then we get our neutrals, which are black and white and grey. And then we also have our near neutrals, which are like certain browns and tans and olives, navies, burgundies. So they're colours that have not got very much pure pigment in, but they've been greyed down somewhat, or they've been mixed with a certain percentage of black or white. I'll just try and keep it high level. It gets a little bit more complex, but we'll just keep it there. So that's what we call the neutrals. They're not the pure colours that we see in the rainbow. I've written on the screen that arbitrary. So the red, orange, yellow, etc. They're arbitrary colours. That's what the human eye can see or can distinguish quite clearly. In fact, it's a lot more nuanced than that. There's quite a merge within the rainbow, but that's what the human eye is trained to see quite clearly. So why have I shown you all these faces? Well, humans come in all sorts of colours as well. Some are lighter, some are deeper, some are brighter, some are softer, some are warmer, some are cooler. So here is a fantastic shot, which I found many years ago on the website of Iman Cosmetics, who makes a fantastic range of foundations for people of all different skin tones. And I just thought this was a really beautiful example of skin tones from light to dark. So if we're looking top left, that's the lightest, and then we're getting deeper as we go towards the right, and then we start again on the bottom line, and we're getting deeper, deeper, deeper as we go across to the right once more. So that's depth. But within our faces, we've also got other colours as well. Some people have got a lot more red, some people have got a lot more brown, some people have got a bit of blue. That's just in skin. Then we've got all of our different hair colours. As I said, I used to be dark, now I'm a sort of a red colour. So that's a colour in me as well. Our eyes are different colours. Some people have green hair, blue hair, black hair. Almost anything anything does go these days. So they're all the different colours within a human that we take into consideration when we work out what will work for us. We're always looking at the face as the basis, face plus hair, because that's our communication centre. That's where we want the attention almost always, is here. So we want to find colours that harmonise with this, not clash. If we're wearing colours that clash with this, then the attention will be on the novel, on the different, on the what doesn't belong. So if we're wearing colours that are cohesive for us and it all looks right, then we've got the attention here rather than anywhere else. So in order to look at most radiant, we will try and find the colours that are as light and bright as we can go without overwhelming us. So I'm going to show you through some examples of people wearing colours. Obviously, if we were live in person, as we were supposed to be, I would be doing this on various ones of you in the audience, but we'll just make do online, and hopefully you'll get the gist of it. Now, something I've done here is use all of those faces, the same faces, but I've cut them up, I literally cut them up, and I reassembled the faces, looking at temperature, because I want to dispel some myths that people of different ethnic backgrounds are all either warm or cool or deep or light or whatever. They're not. There's a wide range, you know, there's variations in every ethnic group. So starting from the top left, we've got the coolest skin tone that I could find, and we're moving across. And as we move across to the right, they're getting warmer, and then we're starting again on that bottom line until we get to those last two, and for the life of me, I cannot work out which one is warmer. One's definitely deeper and one's lighter, but they've both got a lot of warmth in them, those two women. One's got sort of orangey yellow, the other one has got orangey red, so they're both very, very warm. So never think that colour analysis is just for white Anglo-Saxons. It's not. Here are some examples of people wearing colours that just work beautifully for them. So you can see the guy on the left. He is wearing deep, cool colours in a sort of, they've got a sort of a smoky quality to them. And look how perfectly his face just fits into that picture. It's high contrast, it's got a bit of light and dark in there, same with the shirt, light and dark, and there's a smoky quality, and it just belongs. It's perfect. If you were to paint that, you would think that would be a perfect image. Likewise, on the right, the hair, that creamy sort of whitey blonde, blends beautifully with the scarf and the shirt. There's a flow. The composition is good. So these people have both chosen clothes that have got that flow, that look like they belong. Now look at the guy on the right in the black. He's got that sort of shock of black hair there. And you can see he's got dark eyebrows, presumably dark eyes. Again, a perfect match. That very dark hair can carry off the black beautifully. So that's someone who does really suit black, or for whom black suits. The guy on the other side, on the left, is wearing light grey. Now that's very cool in tone. And yet you look at his skin, it's very warm, isn't it? Can you see bits of sort of light orange coming through there? And his hair's got some warmth to it. So in a way, compared to those other three examples of men that I showed you, it's as though the head is dislocated from the body. There is no relationship between the colours of the skin here and the outfit. There's a disconnect. Oh. Okay, two women wearing the same dress. It's quite a strong dress. There's a lot of contrast between the white and the black, and those pops of colours are quite strong too in the flowers. Now the woman on the left has got very dark hair and quite pale skin. It's strong colouring, and she can carry off the strong colouring of the dress really well. That is a good match for her. Over on the right, we've got a woman with dyed blonde hair, and she just doesn't have the strength of colour to carry that dress off. When you're looking at that image, it's the dress that dominates. Now, I wish actually she didn't have her sunglasses on, because I think the sunglasses helps you look at her face, because there's a bit of strength in the glasses in terms of colour. But the dress is where your eyes land, whereas the woman on the left, it's again, it's a nice harmony between face, skin tone and dress. I hope you can see that, everybody. Another example, same dress, two very different looking women wearing it. One on the left has got light blonde hair, which sort of registers as yellow, lemon yellow, like the dress. There's a beautiful harmony there that goes. Woman on the right, I won't mention names. Lovely dark hair, but it's sort of too heavy for the dress. If she were to wear something else dark with that dress, I think that would help connect the two. It's not too bad, but I think the woman on the right wears it better in this case. Oh God, where are we going? We're going backwards. That's not good. Sorry, everyone. We're here. Okay, now this one I find really interesting. They're both wearing the same dress, clearly, but in two different colours. Woman on the right, that very dark hair once again, dark eyes and eyebrows. The silver or platinum dress, it's perfect. There are, you know, there's some depth in that, where the platinum's sort of in the shadow. The depth in that dress just looks perfect with the depth in the hair. Woman on the right, she's wearing the same dress in a gold and yellow, so warm tones. And that works beautifully for the sort of golden complexion she has and that blonde hair, deep blonde hair. Can you see how that they've both chosen the right colour for themselves? Or their stylist has, one or the other. Now, can you imagine them swapping the colours over? They just wouldn't pull it off so well, would they? So woman on the left wearing the golden dress, woman on the right wearing the platinum dress. It just wouldn't be as harmonious. And there's plenty of research out there that says the eye just feels, or the brain just feels relaxed when the eye is seeing something that's harmonious. There's no jarring, it just feels right. And when we're, you know, ideally, we're wearing clothes that are an extension of ourselves. We don't want to have to think about them. We don't want to have to think about them being anything other than just an extension of ourselves. That's when they look right. That's when we can just carry on with our life, not having to fuss, just knowing that it feels okay, looks okay and feels okay. Oh, sorry. All right, I think that's where we're at. Yeah. Okay. Same skirt and black tops. I actually like both of these women in these outfits, even though their colouring is really different. So woman on the left, dark hair, obvious, goes with the dark top and the darkish skirt, obvious. And I really like the touch of the red shoes with the red headscarf. I just think those two things sort of add a bit of interest there. Woman on the right, why does that work for her? So once we understand our own colouring and once we understand colour itself and how we can play with colour, we can create optical illusions and we can trick the eye into seeing things and we can create focal points. Now what woman on the right has done, or stylist has done, is give her that pink t-shirt and that integrates the outfit. Can you see? And then there's pink lipstick up here as well. The whole thing has got some flow then between the body and the head. It works. If the jacket was done up, it wouldn't be quite so good. There'd be a pale little fragile head sitting on a block of black and the two would seem disconnected. But it's been joined very, very cleverly with that pink. It also helps that the black leather jacket has some shine to it. See, on the left, there's no shine in that t-shirt. Where there's, if you want to wear black and it's not an ideal colour for you, wearing it with some shine definitely helps because it's not as heavy. So silks or leathers, anything with a bit of shine will help. So if you're wanting to implement this for yourself, I recommend starting with a colour scheme of, say, 3 to 5 neutral and accent colours. So as a reminder, the neutrals are black and white and grey, and then there's those near neutrals like, you know, brown, navy, burgundy, olive. I'm not naming all of them. This is just some examples. And then accent colours could be the red, the aqua, the pink, the orange, green, the brighter sort of colours. So to ensure that they reflect your own natural colouring, think about whether you're predominantly deep or light, warm or cool, bright or soft. So if you've got green hair, you're going to be bright. You might be warm or cool, depends on the green. There are warm greens, there are cool greens. And how deep or light is the green. So some hair colours are more obvious than others, but select colours so that they'll harmonise with your own. Because if you do that, then they'll also coordinate together, and that will once again reduce that trial and error thing. You'll have some strategy to your purchasing, and you won't have all of these what we call orphan clothing in your wardrobe that, you know, you can't wear together. Because ideally, to build a sustainable wardrobe, everything will work together. Everything will be a piece that earns its keep very much because it goes with everything else that you have. Now, you don't have to limit yourself to a really tiny palette. Goodness knows, if you open up my wardrobe, it's like a rainbow. There's so many colours in there. But because I understand colour theory, I can choose colours that have got the same sort of saturation level, and they will all work together. So I know what I'm looking for. But that's why I say just start off simply with, say, 3 to 5 colours and build from there. Now, think back to when I asked you to do that exercise and you opened your wardrobe. Think back to what that colour was that you have delight in seeing, and also the colour that most of your clothes are. Now, do they go together well? Just have a little think about that. Could you use those two colours to begin your colour palette? So perhaps the colour that delighted you was aqua, and perhaps the colour that most of your clothes is grey. Well, aqua and grey go beautifully together, so that's a very easy place to start. I do not advocate chucking out all of the rest of your clothes. That is not sustainable. It's just about building slowly as you go. As you buy new things, just keep your strategy in mind. And over time, your wardrobe will work better and better together, and you won't be wasting your money on things that might work, but you're not quite sure. Hope that makes sense. I'm going to show you some more faces now, just to give you an idea of, you know, analysing your own self, your own colouring. So these are some of the models that I've used in the book. I think I've used 17 models all up, so this is just a small selection. So there's these two who've got depth. They've got very deep colouring. So maybe you look like them. Maybe your colouring's more like this. So we've got the grey hair, very light grey silver hair on the left, and then we've got that very light platinum blonde on the right. Or maybe you're more like this. It's medium. So how's your depth? Where would you place yourself in terms of depth? I don't know why that happened. Oh, so annoying. Okay, so are you deep? Do you have deep colouring? If we're looking at temperature as well, and I know this is getting a little complicated, but I could say that person on the left is deep and has some warmth. There's some sort of almost orangey tones creeping in there. Person on the right, cool, much more blue. Not completely. She can wear quite a wide variety of clothes, but she's definitely cooler. Can you see that? That there's more blue and grey in her skin than there is in the skin of the person on the left, where it's just a bit more yellow and orange. These two, are you like these two? Are you silver grey? Are you platinum blonde? Have you got very fair skin? Very light. And then the happy medium. So person on the left, there's quite a lot of warmth in there. Strawberry blonde hair. Person on the right, less obvious, but slightly warm, just very gently warm. Not all Asians are warm. In my book, I have another Asian face, and she's cool. So no stereotyping. There is variation in all ethnicities, as I said. All right, this is my friend Briar, also a model in the book, and her colouring is very light and soft. And that colour that I've put against her on the left is a colour that I know she would feel comfortable in wearing. You can see that her skin tone harmonises really well there. There's a flow. On the right, it's much too strong for her. It's much too warm for her. It's just, it's distracting. You're seeing the colour and not seeing her. She would run a mile from that colour, I know. Okay, this is Brad, and you can see on the left, I've put him in a mid-blue. It works quite well. He's got deep hair, not very, very deep, but deep. He's got some depth in his eyes and his eyebrows, so it works quite nicely. Over on the right-hand side, I've put him in a lighter blue. He looks a little washed out. He could wear it, but it's not excellent. He could even potentially wear a deeper blue than that mid one because of the depth, and he's got that little bit of a tattoo on his neck as well, so he can wear a bit of depth. The lighter blue, just not great. It's okay. It's not as bad as, say, that very bright colour there is for Briar. So to summarise, consider what you love to wear and analyse that. Understand why you're reaching for the same couple of things. And then when you buy, only buy what you know you will love to wear. Don't use that scattergun approach where you just think, oh, it's only $35. That might work. Well, make sure it does work before you buy it. Think about quality, not quantity. And using that approach will help reduce the fashion industry's mammoth environmental footprint. We really need to act fast, as I outlined in the beginning of this presentation. If you want to do more reading, there is the book that Mel kindly mentioned earlier. You can get that at Readings Bookshop, or you can get it from my website. There's some QR codes if you're interested. But Mel, back to you, or if you want to see if anybody has any questions.
Yeah, well, let's definitely open up the floor to questions. I'm just going to hold the book up. We do have a couple of copies in the library, so you can borrow them from the library. But in the email I send out tomorrow, I'll send the link to your website as well, Donna, so if people are wanting to get one, they can get them straight from there. But I would like to open up to questions. So if anybody wants to raise their hand or give me an actual physical hand wave if anybody has any questions to ask. I will get the ball rolling though, and I noticed you had a few male models in there, and there's a few, you've kind of tackled the issue from all genders. I guess women are a lot more judged by what they wear. I think a lot of the time, you know, I know, look at my partner's wardrobe to mine. No one notices when a man wears the same suit to work 5 days a week. I'm just wondering what your, like, you know, is it just all in our head that people are noticing, or what are your thoughts?
Well, I'll answer that by saying, what are Julia Gillard's thoughts? Can you remember when she was first Prime Minister, how people used to remark on her clothing all the time and those jackets? It's harder for women because we have more choice. When I used to work in corporate, well, my husband and I both used to work in corporate, and he wore a suit most days, unless he, you know, wasn't meeting with anybody. And, you know, he had the suit and tie on. It was just so easy. And he couldn't believe how much I fussed to get ready for work. And he said, just get some suits. So I did. I bought a black suit, skirt suit, and a grey suit. And oh my God, I was so bored. I was so bored. Yes, it was handy. I didn't have to think much, but I'm so pleased to be a woman and have that variety. So it's a double-edged sword. Yes, we get judged more because there's more margin for error because we have more choice. But I would still rather be a woman and have that choice than have such a limited choice as men have. I do have a few male clients that come and see me occasionally, but that would be about 5% compared to women. So yes, we are noticed for our clothing. Yes, yes. And it's, you know, it's to do with the male gaze too. Unfortunately, we're just still at that state where women are looked at more than men. We are, yeah, we're judged by our appearance. But that's why if you can get the attention here instead of on the hips or wherever, you know, it's a great thing to do. Get people's attention here by wearing colour. You can use colour to do that.
I'm going to read out a question from Sandy, who's popped one in the chat. First, she started by saying she loves this book. What advice would you have for younger people who don't have a lot of income during COVID but are interested in sustainable fashion, and where can they start to look for clothing?
Oh, great question. My mind goes back to someone I used to know in our 20s, and she never had much money, but she always looked incredible. And in hindsight, it was about colour. She used to op shop most of the time. She just had a really good eye. I op shop a lot. A lot of my clothes are secondhand. I don't always buy expensive things. It's just learning what suits you, analysing your body, knowing what you want to emphasize and what you don't want to emphasize, and yeah, understanding a bit more about color and fabric, how fabric sits on us. Even buying something from, say, Target that fits us always looks better than something more expensive that doesn't fit us. So understanding your body shape and what styles suit your body shape, whether you're a rounder, whether you're straight up and down, whether you go like this or like this, we're all different, and there is more variation in males as well. But yeah, op shops are wonderful, wonderful things for people, younger people who don't have much money. Markets too are really good. I would say stay away from buying online. You can't judge the color quality properly. You can't judge the fabric properly. You can't judge the quality of the garment. So even though it's cheap, there's a reason it's cheap. So try a few things secondhand. There's some great consignment shops around now too. So even if op shops are not your thing, I know there's a really good one called Good Buys. There's one in Collingwood, one in Brunswick, and one in Windsor. And they will take secondhand clothes and sell at reasonable prices, not crazy prices, but probably a little more than op shops, but not crazy. I hope I've answered your question, Sandy.
And Anna's put a great comment in there. The op shops sort by colour as well, which comes in handy. I know I do a lot of my shopping at op shops, and I think knowing what colour because op shops can be overwhelming, I find sometimes, but knowing what colours suit me now, I literally can go along a rack and just like pull out the colors and then go, no, I don't like that material, and it goes back. So I think, yeah, it's that having that understanding makes the overwhelm of an op shop sometimes a lot more easy to be able to bear. So I think some really great tips in there. Now Olympia has said thank you for all the information, thought-provoking session. She wants to get an autographed copy of your book, Donna, so can she get in touch via your website to get that?
Absolutely can. Would love to do that. Yeah. And that goes for anybody who would like that. When COVID's over, yeah, lockdown's over. I don't know about COVID being over, but when lockdown's over, happy to have a coffee with people or meet at the library when that's allowed or whatever suits. So yeah, happy to do that.
Well, maybe we should organise an op shop tour with you one day, Donna, for a future session once lockdown's over. Would be fantastic. I also wanted to question, if anybody has questions, feel free to raise your hand. You mentioned about caring for your garments, and I know there's a bit of a repair, revolution coming back where people are learning how to do these skills, but it's also sometimes really hard to find. Like you mentioned that you've had the same boots for 35 years because you keep getting them mended. Like, we're losing a lot of those skills. How important do you think it is that we hold on to the skills that are out there and continue to train next generations of these people who have these skills?
Absolutely crucial. Yeah, really, really, really good question. I think, again, with the sort of craft resurgence that's happening, I think those skills are coming back into vogue. I think with the, the younger people being so concerned about the environment, this, students, schools strike for climate, they're much more interested in that stuff than, say, older people who have, and I'm including myself in that too, that have been brought up with the disposable throwaway generations. That is clearly unsustainable. So I think, these things are coming back into vogue. And even visible mending, I find that fascinating. If people heard about visible mending, so I might have a hole here, and instead of thinking, oh, that's ruined, what I would do is either find a patch or embroider maybe a little flower or something that will sit there. So it's visibly mended, but you make it into a piece of art rather than trying to hide the fact that you've mended it. So be proud that you've mended things.
Frances has popped a comment in that she had a lovely woolen jumper that has not been wearing because she had some moth holes and she'd love to mend them. So when I send out the email tomorrow, we've actually got some books in the library about mending and that visible mending as well. So I'll also include some links to some of those books. I am conscious that we have gone a little bit over time. So if nobody else has any other questions, we might thank Donna incredibly for her time tonight. It's so much information. I would recommend have a look at the book. I thought I had a fairly good understanding, but I learned a lot reading Donna's book, and it's so well set out. So congratulations on the book, Donna. It was a really fantastic read. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you, Mel. Thank you so much for reaching out to me. It's been a pleasure to speak to you all, and I do appreciate everybody coming online. I know that's not quite what we wanted to, originally, but really appreciate it. Can I just give you one gift before I go, everybody? If you are troubled by moths, or even if you're not, but you bought a second-hand jumper, what I have learnt is that you can stick it in the freezer. It needs to be for at least 48 hours. Kills the larvae. Because it's not the moths themselves, it's the larvae within the woolen jumper. So that will prevent it from spreading to any of your other garments. So not a hot wash. Washing doesn't kill it. Freezing.
That is a very great little tip. Before we go, I do just want to mention a couple of our upcoming events. So next month, I'm not going to let you know whether it's online or face-to-face yet because we're not quite sure, but keep an eye on our Facebook page and our website. On Wednesday, the 15th of September, we have farmer, author, podcaster Jade Miles coming in to talk about her new book, Future Steading. So her new book is all about living like tomorrow matters, and the term future steading comes from a blend of homesteading and has roots in permaculture as well. So she's going to be talking about her lifestyle and giving us all some great tips. And then Wednesday, the 6th of October, this one will definitely be online because Brooke McCallery is coming to talk about her new book, Care, The Radical Art of Taking Time, and she's up in New South Wales. So we'll be definitely doing that one online. And her new book is about taking time to explore what it means to care in smaller ways for ourselves, our loved ones, and our communities, and discovering that caring doesn't need to cost us our well-being, our happiness, or our relationships. And so really in this complicated world we're living in at the moment, that will hopefully help us all to stay connected and stay connected to things that matter to us all. So please, thanks again, Donna. You all have an email coming out from me tomorrow. Stay safe. And we'll see you again next month, either back on Teams or back in the library. But stay in touch, stay connected, take advantage of the click and collect while it's operating, and we'll see you all again soon.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.